Hyderabad Literary Festival is organized by Muse India. It's a literary e-journal which started in 2005. The main objective of Muse India is to focus on Indian writing in English as well as in English translation. Every year, Muse India used to organize a small Muse Meet, a gathering of about 20 to 30 writers who contributed to Muse India, and we used to come together usually in December to spend a day together in Hyderabad. Sometime in 2009, we became a little more ambitious, and we also saw that several cities in India had their own literary festivals. So we thought, why not turn this Muse Meet, an annual Muse Meet, into an annual literary festival? And then we also realized that it can no longer be the Muse Literary Festival, because we are in Hyderabad, a city which is known for its multiple cultures, multiple languages, and multiple literary traditions. So we thought that it was only appropriate that the festival should be named after the city. And therefore, that's how the Hyderabad Literary Festival made a beginning in 2009. We held the first literary festival in 2010 December, and we should have had our second literary festival in 2011, in December 2011. But then one of the suggestions that came was that it would be better for many writers of Indian origin who live abroad, that if we hold it in January, there are chances of their participating in the festival would be higher. So several writers wrote to us saying that, why don't you postpone it to January? So that's how, instead of holding the second edition of the festival in December 2011, we pushed it a little back and held it in 2012 January. And since then, we have taken a decision that every year we will be organizing the Hyderabad Literary Festival in January. The objectives of the festival are three. One, we want to bridge the growing gulf between the local, the national, and the global writers. We want to bring these writers together onto the same platform so that they understand each other, they come to know each other, and in a way, probably, the synergy of creative energy can come out of that. The second objective of the festival is to bring together writers and readers. Writing, as we all know, is a lonely endeavor, and very often a writer never usually meets his or her reader. So we thought, this is an opportunity for us to bring the writers and readers together. When we had our first festival in 2010 December, we had representation from 17 Indian languages. And we continue to hold that tradition of HLF being a multilingual festival. It is obviously so because Muse India, which organizes this festival, is an e-journal which is multilingual. So therefore, HLF also is multilingual. In 2012, that is last year, we introduced a new feature into HLF, which is to invite one foreign country as a guest nation. Last year, we invited Germany, which was celebrating the 60 years of Indo-German collaboration. We invited Germany to be our guest nation. And this year, the French Festival of India, the Bonjour India, is starting at HLF because we invited France as our guest nation this year. A feature that we added to the festival this year is to look at one Indian language at every edition of the festival in some detail. This is what we called the Indian language in focus. And this year, in 2013, the language in focus is Telugu. What happens when we invite a nation or a language as a guest nation or a language in focus? For example, when we invite Germany or France, and next year it would be some other nation, when we invite them as our guest nation to participate in HLF, they bring their writers and cultural artists who become part of the festival. And when we focus on one Indian language as the language in focus, what happens in the festival is that several sessions which are devoted to that language and that literature become part of the festival. For example, this year's language in focus is Telugu, and nearly 16 Telugu writers participated in the festival. And we, HLF, are about 3 years old. As I said, this is the third edition of the festival, and we are growing and we are learning. We have been receiving excellent support from Andhra Pradesh Tourism, which is our main supporter, and we have also been receiving consistent support from cultural organizations and institutions such as the Sahitya Academy and several universities in Hyderabad, and also, most importantly, the publishers. Several big publishers like HarperCollins or Oxford Black Swan or Neogi Books or Westland, they have all been part of the festival, and they have been bringing their writers, they are bringing their authors to the festival, and they have been a great support. We wanted to, since the four of us who started it, we have always been students of literature, although not necessarily professionally teachers of literature. Only 2 out of the 4 have been teachers of literature, whereas the other 2 were great lovers of literature. We wanted to begin a magazine or journal, but we realized how difficult it is to run a print magazine or a print journal. And yet, we realized that there is a great need to take Indian literature through English translations to a broader readership the world over. So, Muse India began with this desire, with the objective of taking Indian literature, both originally written in English and Indian literature which is written in Indian languages but is available in English translation to the computer screens the world over. HLF is primarily organized by Muse India and supported by several government, non-government institutions and organizations. So, Muse in a way is the backbone of HLF, and HLF reflects some of the commitments that Muse as an e-journal has had, which is, for example, to encourage young writers, to encourage writing in Indian languages, and every issue of Muse India has one particular theme which is highlighted in that edition of Muse India. I would like to mention, for example, that in order to realize some of these objectives, Muse India started National Literary Awards last year. We give these awards in 2 categories. One is the Best Translation Award, and 2, the Best Young Writer Award. And these 2 awards obviously reflect our own agenda in terms of translation and in terms of encouraging young writing. Although Muse India, as I said, is an e-journal which in a way has much less in terms of hassles compared to a print journal, and because it's an entirely web-based journal, there is a lot of flexibility and so on. But even then we realized that sometimes people may not want or may not have the energy to write a long article or a poem or a short story. There is in Muse India, we have created a small space which is appropriately called Your Space, which means that you can post a comment or a poem or a kind of your reaction to something that happens. So, your space is really the reader's space, and we just have a moderator for that space so that no offensive material is posted on that space and that space is not abused. So, we have a moderator who generally takes a very quick look at the submissions to your space and then OKs it, which means that almost almost simultaneously as you write, you can see your what you have written on the Muse India website. So in a way, this cuts down the time between writing and publishing. We have been very clear right from the beginning that although we are very lucky in a way, because as I said, Muse India is a labor of love, because we don't have big budgets, and in a way we don't actually pay to the authors who contribute. And when they contribute, we make it very clear that the copyright lies with them. And they give us permission to publish this, but if somebody else wants to publish this, the copyright permission has to be sought from the author himself. At the same time, we would also insist that they should mention that this was originally published in Muse India. So the copyright of what is published in Muse India lies with the authors, but we would like an acknowledgement to be made to the original publication, which is in Muse India. So far, we have had only very good experiences with publishing an e-journal, because I've been to several countries outside India, and they told me that they are using the material which is available on Muse India website as part of their curriculum. I met several colleagues abroad who immediately recognized when I said Muse India, and they said that we take material that is available on Muse India as reflective of contemporary Indian writing, which is not possible if they have to depend on hard copies or books published, because there is always a gap between the writing and then publishing. Whereas what is available through Muse India is something that is absolutely contemporary, and I have met several colleagues in universities abroad who are using the material that is available on Muse India as part of their curriculum on either Indian writing in English or world literature and so on. These days, almost every Indian city has a literary festival of its own. But I think the USP of HLF is that it's a multilingual festival. Unlike several other festivals, perhaps better known festivals, we are not exclusively a festival for English writers. Other festivals have also included Indian languages into it, but it's a kind of a later edition. Whereas HLF began with this mandate that it will always be a multilingual festival. That, I think, is our USP. Yes, but they may be academics, but the reason why they are at HLF is not because they are academics. They are not, they are not here because they are professors or deans or, whatever. They are here because they are authors. So, they are here primarily as authors, and it is coincidental that they are also academics. But there are also several writers who are only writers and not academics. In fact, what is interesting this time in HLF 2013 is that a large number of people who have nothing to do with so-called literature with a capital L are here as authors. Sometimes some of them are first-time authors, but some of them have come from completely varied professional backgrounds. Journalists, media men, doctors, engineers, and advertising specialists, and so on and so forth. So they are here not because of their professional designation, but because they are here because they are authors and they have a published book to their name. Yeah, we realize that how difficult these days it is to get your work published. And so publishing, although is one benchmark, it need not be the only criteria, for inviting a writer. Some of these writers, as is evident from the list of participants that we have, are not yet published authors in the traditional sense. But they have written poems, and some of their poems have been published by Muse India itself, and some of these have also been published in other web-based journals. So we judge the writers by what they have written rather than by with whom they have published. So while published work is acknowledged, that need not be the only criteria. And the other category of people that you may have, you are mentioning are, yes, they are academics, but they are academics because they may not be creative writers, but they have made major contribution to our understanding of literature. People like Professor Bill Ashcroft and others. So because in a way they are not dissociated from literature, although they may not be creative writers. Well, organizing HLF is tough, as anybody who organizes a festival like this would understand. But it is also tough because I'm a full-time teacher. I teach in a university and I'm a full-time teacher, which means that I devote at least 3 to 4 months of my academic year in planning and executing the Hyderabad Literary Festival. And therefore, in a way, my professional life suffers because of this, not in terms of teaching, but my research and my publications, they are affected by HLF. That is one part. But the more, I would say, the depressing part is that the lack of understanding about why this festival is being organized. Because just the other day, someone asked me, point blank, why are you organizing this festival? What are you getting out of this? And I had no answer to that question. Because in terms of, in terms of work, of course, it is a lot of work. But in terms of tangible returns out of this festival, in terms of what we consider tangible returns, there is nothing really to show, except the satisfaction, the happiness of the people who participate, and also happy because several young writers who participated in this festival found their publisher during this festival. Apart from such things, the important thing that really makes the organization of this festival difficult is the lack of sponsorship. Yes, we are getting excellent support from, as I said, the tourism department of Andhra Pradesh and also several organizations and institutions, but very often this support is in kind rather than in cash. And in terms of monetary support, we really are far behind our aims. So there is a kind of, if you are organizing a cultural event which is like one evening or something, there are people who are willing to come forward and sponsor. But if it is a 3-day 10 to 6 literary festival like this, people are hesitant to sponsor because very often these days culture is becoming more of a show. It's a kind of it's good to be seen in such events, and therefore corporate companies and others are willing to support that kind of events. But when it comes to things like literary festivals, perhaps it is not as fashionable as a cultural event. Therefore, finding sponsors is a very major challenge that we still have not found an answer to, and God willing, someday we will be able to overcome that problem. We would like more participation from the readers, not just the authors, because now we are getting excellent support from authors and publishers. What we really need is the interest and the involvement of the readers. We would like to have larger crowds. We would like to have more people of the city participate in these festivals, and basically, the feeling that this festival belongs to us. It is not a festival that is being organized by someone else, but it is our festival. That it is, it's a festival that belongs to the city. And when that happens, I'm sure the festival will grow in strength.